So, good morning everyone, and thank you for joining us today. To introduce myself, I'm Susan Marlow and I'm the MD here at Minster. I've been at Minster Microcomputers for over 30 years, and over that time I've been involved in all areas of the business. Originally, I started working within the technical team as a software engineer. So for many years, I installed, implemented and trained on our Pegasus product range, including supporting our customers with their systems. I did that for many years and I still play an active role within the sales and the applications teams. So along with being MD, I currently head up the finance side of the business. And as a management accountant, analysing figures and looking at cost and trend analysis are really important to me. I moved over to lead the sales team until Paul Taylor, who joins me today, took over managing that side of the business. Good morning, Paul.
Yeah, morning, Susan. Morning, everyone. I hope you're all okay.
Yeah, we are indeed. And I hope you're in good voice today.
Absolutely, yeah, as ever.
Perfect. So Paul joined us as our sales manager almost 5 years ago now, and you will no doubt have either met him or spoken with him over the years. So Paul has been in the IT industry for over 20 years, and I'm giving your age away there, Paul. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry. I started straight after my paper round finished.
I'm sure you did. So over this time, Paul has developed a love and passion of ERP, with more than 10 of those 20 years spent becoming an expert in this field. As MD here at Minster, my role, or part of my role, is setting the strategy and vision for the business, as well as defining and creating its culture. So those are also very key. Creating new business opportunities, as well as sustaining and adding value to existing business, are hugely important factors towards helping us achieve some of those goals. And of course, we need to ensure we look after our existing customers as well. So to understand whether we're working towards those goals positively and that vision, Paul and I do spend quite a lot of time together. And as you can imagine, we talk in detail about our projected revenue forecasts, our current and future pipeline, and how we can improve our conversion rates and reduce our sales cycle. It's basically trying to make our sales team more effective. So all these questions are no doubt things that you ask your own sales team, or you could find yourself being asked if you're actually in the same role as Paul and you're managing a team. And we felt these were real world business questions and that they were relevant to all of us, not just here at Minster. And we wanted therefore to share our experience and knowledge with you today. So today marks the first of a mini series of webinars to look at a number of business areas. Today's session focuses on sales management and how CRM can really help your sales team work and run smarter. Future sessions will focus on other typical components of a business, such as finance, credit control, debt management, service delivery, which obviously includes customer service, supply chain management, HR, payroll, and also about going greener. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. Great stuff. Looking forward to the series. Really, it's we've covered some good topics off recently, and more and more I spend a lot of time myself and with my sales team, sitting down with Pegasus customers, looking at how we can get more value and better usage, out of a system that they've invested in. So I'm just going to take probably 10 or so minutes, really, just to give you a bit of a high level walkthrough of CRM, or sales pipeline management as it's called, just to give you an insight into some of the functionality. So I'll just share my screen with you all, just one moment. Okay, so here is my Pegasus screen. I'm going to drop into CRM, which you can see at the top there. So I've got every module turned on, but I'll just focus on the sales pipeline management side of things. So typically, the first thing I tend to do in the morning, or even my sales team will do first thing in the morning, is they'll look at what activities and what tasks they need to work on today. So if I choose the option of task here, and I can go into a task list, or I can look at a calendar, depending on what my preference is really. I like a list, to be fair, to work through. And from a management point of view, I'm going to look at this across the whole business. So although this is focusing just on Kevin, if I change that now to all contacts, And again, I can change the date field around as well. So I'm just interested in today and future dates. Let's look at the activities we've got on today and over the next couple of weeks really to focus on. You could see straight away there, it will show me historical activities as well. The good thing about that is if the salesperson hasn't closed them down, they don't disappear. They're still there on the list. It's just how you sequence the data. So great if, you know, somebody's off, you need to look at what activities they haven't followed up, so you could jump on them yourself or move them over to someone else to follow up. And also you can change the type as well. So I'm looking at all types here, but it could be that actually today I just want to focus on chasing quotations. So we could look at just those activities. I'll just make that screen a little bit bigger so you can see what's on there. So if we look at just a couple of the handful examples there, I can see at the top I've got a telephone call scheduled with Adams Light Engineering, and it's to chase a quotation that's been done for a new widget project. So I could just double click in there and make the phone call and phone James. I've got an internal task as well, which is good. So quite apt for today, check month to date and pipeline report. I've got meeting requests, but I need to arrange a sales meeting to discuss a new product range, in this case for Microsoft 365 backup again, which is a very apt subject around kind of cybersecurity at the moment, and moving Exchange solutions offsite as well. And then lower down the list, you can see I've got a few more really to chase quotations, which are the good ones really. As soon as we put a quote on the system, we can sequence it, so it automatically sends us a reminder to chase it up, and we just select the date that we want to chase that up on really. So it's really good. So kind of real life scenario, I'll come in the morning, I'll bring my task list up, I'll plan my day and what I'm going to do. And typically the phone rings, you know, it's now 10:10, phone will ring and it could be one of my customers requesting a quotation. So how flexible is the system? How quickly can I pull up that customer and can I do that quotation? So there's a couple of different ways of searching. I'm going to do it through company processing, and that will basically bring up a database and open up all of my customers, prospects and suppliers, because this is linked to the sales and the purchase ledger as well, which is really good. So it's brought Adams Light Engineering up first. If I just drop into the list there, you can see down the list that I've got my handful of customers, I've got my suppliers as well, which is fantastic. And then further down the list, I've got my prospects as well. So the great thing about this is we've got prospective company customer information, so we can work on those prospects. When we do then put a quote on and the quote is converted, it's really quick and easy just to transfer it over to the sales ledger. So then the finance team can agree terms with that customer if that's what's decided to do really. So really good. I can also search, however, through contacts. So set the scene. If it's James, for example, from Adams Light Engineering that has called me, if I just do a Control and F or click on the binoculars there and type in James, straight away it's finding everyone with James in there. So you can see we've got Lucy James as well because it's a surname. I'll just select James Miller, and that's brought up all of the relevant information for James at Adams Light Engineering. So James wants me to give him a quotation. So if I just work across the tabs at the top there and go to quotes, it's showing me all of the existing quotes we've done. So if a call was about querying a quote that we've done, the quote's there. We can find that straight away and we could edit it or progress it if that's the reason for the call. In this scenario, let's say James wants a new quotation. So I'm just going to use action and I'm going to raise a new active quotation. So because it's all linked to supply chain management and order processing in this case, it's already populating the header information based on the company and the address that James resides at. I could change the address if he wanted it shipped somewhere else. If he's giving me a reference, I can populate the field there. I can choose which warehouse I want stock to come from. In this case, I'll just leave it defaulted to our main, and then I can put an expiry date on the quotation as well. So obviously prices are changing quite a lot at the moment. So I'll just give it an expiry date till the end of this month. And then I'll click OK, and that's my header information done. So we'll start building up the quotation here. So this is a car leasing company, so there's a lot of car related products. So I'll just put Matt in, and it's bringing back 3 different car mats in 3 different sizes. The great thing here is I can see on the screen our selling price, and I can see the quantity we've got in stock at the moment as well, which is really useful. So if I just choose the small car mat, And then we've got more information, providing you've got access to the relevant parts of the system. But as I mentioned, it's showing me I've got 174 in stock. If James wants more than 174, I know that I've got 460 there already raised on a purchase order. So if I wanted to, I could drill down and expand back into that purchase order to see when we're gonna have those delivered in. So I can then tell him about expected delivery day should he go ahead with this quotation. I'll just put 100 down on this line. And again, we can see our sell price and our total price based on the quantities that we're selling. Now, if you wanted your salespeople to have access to this, you can change the pricing. So if they're negotiating on the fly, they can look at discounts. They can change the margin around as well. But of course, we don't do that. So I'll just I'll save that line away and we're done, no problem at all. So I can carry on building the quotation up just for the time that we've got this morning. There's quite a lot to cover. I'm just going to finish that and I'll just close that down and I'll post it. And that will update the sales order. Now, I've also got every module turned on. So the next option it's asking me is, do I want to capture a document for this posting? The reason it's doing that is I've got document management, which allows me to capture an external document. It could be that James has emailed me a technical diagram that he wants me to quote on. I can attach that document to this quotation, but it also works across other parts of the system. So I've got a lot of customers that will keep information attached to customers. They will have information attached to suppliers. They could have purchase invoices attached to the relevant transaction. If you're using payroll, attaching information to your employees as well. So I won't show you now, we'll show you in another session, but a really, really good module. But Susan touched on earlier, we're doing a lot around going green at the moment. So we'll cover that off in a session later on down the line. So I'll just say no, and my quotation's done. I'm not connected to email. I'm on a standalone laptop at the moment, but in a real scenario, I'd have it set that I just email that quotation off to the customer, and I'll show you how that looks and how you can attach more information to that a little later on. So that's all done. We've done it for James. We've sent it over, and I'll close that down. And there we go. We're back to my task list, and I can carry on working through my activities. So really quick and easy. You know, we get interrupted. We need to respond to a customer request. Quick, we've done that, the quotation's gone off. If I just go back into company processing, so again, the first customer in here is the one that I just used. I use James all the time in demonstrations. So it's given me Adams Light Engineering. The good thing about this is because it's linked to the sales ledger as well, if I click on the action button, I can expand into the account record if I'm happy for my salespeople to do that. Of course, we want our salespeople to know what's going on with this customer, what's their credit limit, you know, what is the order balances, what's the outstanding debt, have they exceeded their credit limit, are they on stop at the moment? These kind of things that we need to know. And again, we can expand down and interrogate the data however we want to. If I just close that down and we come back to CRM. Again, you probably noticed I've got order processing here. So again, you saw how I did a quotation a few moments ago. I don't have to come out of CRM and then go into supply chain management and into order processing. It's all built into these screens. But if I wanted to have a look at previous orders, if James was querying an order to see what's the status, when is it going to be dispatched, or when is it going to be invoiced for it, I can just drop into order processing and get that data there as well, which is really good. Could be the scenario as well. If I just go down to the bottom of the screen here and we just look at the latest one, we can see that quotation that we literally entered on a few moments ago. So it could be actually that James rings back a few minutes later and he wants to go ahead with that quotation. So I can do a control and P or an action and progress, one click, and that's converted into a new order for us. Or control and E if he wants to edit anything. You know, you might want 150 rather than 100, whatever the scenario is. So we can get access to that data really quick and easy. Going across the tabs at the top, I've got one for activities. So you've seen the activities on the task list. What this shows me is all of the activities that are relevant to Adams Light Engineering, because I'm looking at it from a company level at the moment. So again, we can use the date range, we can use the filter range to look into any of those in a bit more detail. When we've closed an activity off, it doesn't just disappear as well. It goes and lives in this tab here, history. And the good thing about the history there is it is giving me a 360 degree of what's going on with this customer or if it was a prospect, or if it was a supplier. Again, today's about sales, but I've spent some time with quite a lot of customers lately about how this links into the purchase ledger as well. So it can be used to create activities around and help with, smarter purchasing and better relationships with our suppliers as well. So although it's sales management, it's supplier management as well, but we'll cover that off in another session. But so we can look at everything that's going on. We can attach notes. We can put further activities on there against the customer. And again, opportunities, I can look at all the opportunities that are stored. I can change the dates, and I can look at all of the quotations that are stored as well against Adams Light Engineering. If I wanted to look at stuff that's specific to a relevant contact at Adams, bearing in mind you've normally used to seeing a couple on your sales and purchase ledger. With CRM, it's a bit more flexible. You can store more contacts. So I've got a handful there. We'll use James, who we looked at a few minutes ago. This will now show me, it changes the screen around, but again, the tabs across the top are the same. All it's doing is it's drilling into the information that is stored against James. So I can see what activity tasks we've got against James. What do we need to follow up with him? What opportunities have we got with James? What quotations have we got linked against James? So it's really quick and easy to get that data. In fact, if I just drop back into quotes, and just go down the list here and look at one I did yesterday, actually. So I've got 1,000 widgets that's on a quotation. If I want to just print that out to the screen, I can choose action and then print. And then that'll basically fire it up into a PDF ready to email. In this case, I've already attached a cover letter as well. So you can see on here, we've got a brochure covering letter. And then, sorry for the crudeness, I haven't got any layout set up against this, but the quotation is then wrapped around that cover letter. Again, if there was any technical specs that need to be attached, we could do that, and that could be sent out with that quotation as well. So that works really, really well. So lots and lots of information that we can get to here. Again, it's all layering data. So as long as I go back to the beginning, it's taking me back to that screen. I'm not losing anything at all. And of course, if I just close that screen down, then I can go back to Adams Light Engineering. If I close that down, I'm back to my task list of where I started from. So just conscious of time, because there's quite a few things that we want to run through this morning. But again, if you want to go into a bit more detail about some of your other options of adding new opportunities, of tracking opportunities, I can cover that off in some one-to-one sessions for you, really. So, okay. Susan, I know you've got a few questions that you want to run through. So I'll hand back over to you, but I'll leave the Opera open. So.
Indeed, yeah, it's not a bad idea, because you'll probably want to show me and everyone else on the session hopefully some of the ways forward from looking at the answers. Hopefully it'll be easier to see it visually. So yeah, Paul, when we were putting this session together, we were talking about what situations we find ourselves in, and the sort of questions we get asked. You get asked when you're presenting the system, and we get asked on the support desk and so forth as well. So we thought it'd be a really great way of presenting some of these common day-to-day business problems. So first question for you, Paul. Hopefully you're ready for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hands on the keyboard.
Okay, fab. We've had a number of competitors recently who've been bought out, and sadly, due to the pandemic as well, we've also had, some companies just haven't made it through, and I mean it's had a real impact, certainly on the IT industry. And talking with our customers as well, it's had a real impact on other business sectors just as much. And it's sad fact that businesses shut down all the time, but also what also happens all the time is businesses go through acquisitions and they change hands. Now, this information comes through quite quickly to us, and it's actually a sales opportunity. But it is only an opportunity if we can react quickly. Yeah. So, Paul, how can the system help in a situation like this for us to actually be able to contact prospects as quickly as we can?
Yeah, brilliant question. Yeah, really, really good. I mean, again, so many different ways we can do this, and this is what makes the system so versatile, really. I do educate a lot of our users about when they're in a big tendering process, storing information about competitors that they know who they're up against when they're they're at the table, because if they do find out information like you just touched on, they want to pull, how quickly is it to pull this information back on opportunities you quoted on where you're up against certain competitor. But to answer, there's a couple of ways we can do it. I'm going to show you probably the quickest and easiest way. If we want to look at companies that are dealing with a certain competitor to then do something with it, whether it be schedule a phone call or whether it's send them some marketing collateral, I'll use what is called the advanced search, and we can use it in different ways. But if I start from contacts first and drop down to advanced search, this is probably one of my favorite screens in the system, because what it allows me to do is to go to the system and say, go and find me this data, regardless of whether it's a prospect, a customer or supplier, and bring it back based on what I'm asking it to do. So the first tab there I'm going to leave because it's about the contact. And actually, there's a lot of user definable fields that we can design. This is a good part about CRM, really. We can design certain fields that are relevant to our customers' businesses and the industries that they transact in. So it allows you to report and do analysis and to use for marketing activities across so much more. If I just click on the company one, so as I mentioned, I can drill into type. So if I just wanted to look at prospects, I could do that, but I'm just going to leave it open at the moment. So it looks at all of the database, prospects, customers and suppliers. I could search on certain referral methods, industry categories, company categories, but again, I'll just look at the competitor. So if I choose the drop down here, I've got a handful of competitors set up. I'm not very creative, so I've just called them A, B, and C. If I choose competitor B here and then do a display result, it's going to go off, look at the database, and then present me back with all of the companies that it knows it's got competitor B against. That's absolutely fantastic. It's found that data for me in seconds. 13 contacts are matching that criteria. I could deselect some of them if I wanted to, so I know that it doesn't affect Adams because they're my A tier customer anyway. They used to buy something from competitor B. They don't really transact with them anymore, but I've still stored that information. I could untick them. The reason I might do that is if I want to do something with this data. So if I click on action, there's a few different things I can do here. I could just send them all an email right here, right now. I could do a mail merge if I wanted to, if we had something else that we wanted to pass over to the marketing team and they wanted to send out. And what I tend to do is I schedule an activity. The great thing about this is I schedule one activity. It pings it out to all of those 13 contacts. So the relevant account manager in my scenario, one of my account managers, will pick up that task of the activity that I've set, and it could be phone this customer because we know XYZ is going on with competitor B and discuss it with them next week. So I could schedule an activity for say Wednesday next week, and that will just go and live on the to-do list of a relevant account manager who looks after that account, or they've got the prospect territory assigned to them as well. Really, really good. The last option is we can add it to a group. This is really good. And I mean, our marketing team love it really, where we can get data out of the system. We can set up a group. That group's then ring-faced, it's stored, it's there forever. So we can go in, we can pull the data out on that group and do something with it at any point in the future. So if we're doing events, for example, sorry, just going off tangent of the question you asked, but in company criteria, if I wanted to, and again, this is something that we get feedback. So for today, for example, we might look at referral method. How many people attended the webinar, and we want to send them some information following it to make sure that they were happy with it. And actually, do they want a one-on demonstration to go into a bit more detail? This is how I can pull the data out, because it would be stored here, and I could pull it out in the advanced search. So sorry, Susan, bit longer-winded then, but hopefully that answers the question. We can get the competitor out of the system real quick and do something with that data, which is the most important part.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Paul. No, that's really good. I know it is such a powerful part of the system, the advanced search, and I think sometimes it's just about demonstrating, how you can get so many other parts out. In fact, I'm sure you'll touch on it again. Another question we get asked all the time as well, and this affects us regularly. And you touched on when you were putting the quote on about a quote expiry date. So for instance, this is going a little bit further.
Sure.
When a supplier increases their prices,
Right.
they will give us, as we know, little, if not any notice. I mean, sometimes just no notice at all. And this can cause a real headache for us with outstanding quotes. And we need to really quickly find out who we've quoted, who that might be affected. I mean, it's sometimes you can look at it two ways. We need to re-quote, or if we won't put our sales hat on, it's an opportunity for a quick close. Can you show how we could do that?
Yeah, definitely. And it is a really apt question, actually. I mean, I was with a company just yesterday, and they purchase steel related products in, and I mean, the amount of price changes they've had in 2021 alone is absolute. I've never come across anything like it. You know, on top of the extended lead times, it's ridiculous, really. But yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely a sales opportunity. So if I go into sales opportunity here, I'm going to use the advanced search again, because what you didn't see when I looked at it from contacts showed me contact and company criteria. If I go into it from an opportunity point of view, then what I can do is I can actually say, well, actually, look at the information that I want to bring back on that company criteria, but then add into it forecasted closure date or actual closure date or expected shipment date. So then it will refine that data. It'll look at, if, for example, there's a price increase here due in September, I want to pull back everything that's forecasted to close at the end of August. So we can actually go and speak to them and say, you know, not necessarily requote, but the price is going to go up in September. So if there is an opportunity, you're going to get your best price now. We've got X amount in stock. You know, are you happy to go ahead of that a little bit ahead of time? So you can see down here, I've got product, I've got supplier. If I go back into company where you saw before, I've got competitor setup as well. So same thing really. If I beg your pardon, sorry. If I choose supplier, incumbent supplier, and I'll just do supplier A and then display results. And exactly the same thing there. If I put a date in there, it'll look at all of these opportunities with the relevant forecasted closure date with that supplier stored against it. So I can do the same. I can set up an activity, I can set up a group, I can send some information out to them straight away on that. So really quick and easy to do that, Susan.
Yeah, that's really great, Paul. And it's a really relevant issue that, as you say, we're encountering more and more. Something I'm always asking you, Paul, in fact, I think it's on the bane of your life, but I think it's great that because you can really quickly give me this now, and I think it's really good for you to maybe show people. How quickly can you provide a snapshot of where we're at in a month? So we're talking about things like what we've already closed, and what opportunities we've still got in the pipeline.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Again, one of my favourites, sales management reporting, which, you know, if you're going to get anything out of this morning session, this is the one really. You know, we want to know where we're at, what's outstanding, what can we expect, you know, by the end of the month. So just to look at it from a high level, you know, again, obviously you and I talk about this a lot. If we look at it from a high level, first and foremost, it's as easy as this. This is how flexible this system is. Going to reports, sales pipeline reports. Okay, I can then sequence and filter the data however I want to, which is absolute, you know, it's a sales manager's dream really. So I'm going to leave it on sales stage, but you can change that around if you want to. I'm also going to use an Excel summary, so I'll just fire it off into a spreadsheet for us. I'm going to include a graphical format because we love graphs in our management meetings. And then what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to include obviously my won opportunity. So what have I closed this month? I'm also going to ask it to include lost opportunities as well, so we can see that data. And then I can put my date ranges in and then click OK. So here's one I made earlier. If I just jump into a spreadsheet, it's giving me a value against each sales stage I've asked it to. So I've got 4 sales stages set up here. So I can see I've got opportunities where it's 140,000 worth of initial inquiry opportunities. I've got 4,205 at decision pending, and I've still got £56,500 where the quotation's been sent. So on top of my sale completed, which is obviously the main figure that you and I talk about, I can then sit down with my sales team and say, well, actually, how do we move the sent quote ones into decision pending? And then how do we get the decision pending into a closure status? So that's very high level, but I can deep dive on that data if I want to. So in our sales meetings, we'll then look at opportunities in real time, and we'll look at what stage they're at and what we need to do to get them to the next level.
That's brilliant. Sorry, Paul.
No, I was going to say, how's that look for you, to be fair, but it's a bit of a blue Peter. You've seen that one before, so.
No, that's really good. I mean, the graph I just think is fantastic. I mean, what I really like is how easy it is to create it, and the fact that you've chosen to export it to Excel. It just means it can be manipulated and worked on outside of the system as well. So I really love that. And as you say, a graph, it speaks volumes. I think most of us, really almost prefer to see lots of numbers and lots of information in a graph. So that's great. So I'm just sort of thinking about that data that you've brought out already, and sort of just thinking perhaps how we could drill down into that in more detail, and maybe just look at outstanding opportunities and how we can get as many of those closed this month, for example.
Yeah, no problem at all. Again, different ways to do this. Again, from a reporting point of view, I could just change the sales pipeline management report out and have more of the details in front of us there. However, I'm going to use the advanced search. Everyone will know this by the time. They've probably seen it a handful of times now already this morning, but this is how good it is. So me and my sales team, we work on it live when we're having sales meetings. So what I want to do is open it up, do my advanced search again. I can choose whatever criteria I want to, but typically at the moment, all I'm interested in is, right, show me all opportunities with a closure date of the end of August or the end of September, depending on what quarter we're working on. Pull the data back, and then we'll work on it live on the screen. So we can see here again, I didn't filter anything out on there, but again, if I just wanted to have a look here at this new car mat opportunity, whatever forecasted closure it's on, I can expand, I can double click and just expand into the opportunity itself then. And then obviously me and the sales team will talk about where we're at, what we need to do to get it to the next stage then. Or do we know any more information like we touched on earlier? There's going to be a price increase coming down the line. Let's go into that opportunity and let's do a bit more deep diving on it and contact the customer. So really, really quick and easy to do that, Susan. Brilliant.
That's great. Thank you for that. Final question. I say I'm conscious of time, so sorry about that, everyone, that we've running a little bit late. Part of the nature of the beast is that salespeople do come and go. It's not just in the IT industry. It's across most businesses. It's something that you have to manage, and it's just really important that, as a business, you can jump onto those opportunities of an outgoing salesperson as quickly as possible. Now, whether that's to reassign them to a new person or an existing member of the team, or even as sales manager, you might want to jump on them and deal with them really quickly yourself. How quickly can this be done?
Yeah, really quickly. So for those of you that know, in fact, I'll show you this first and I'll backtrack on how the sales ledger holds territories and regions. So there's different ways we can look at it there, but the quickest way to do it is if I just drop into the contact tab, and then in the last one, we've got transfer records. If I then choose who I want to transfer, so I'm just going to open up and look at all customers, prospects and suppliers here. So my company name on here is Orion Vehicles Leasing. That's the demo data that you've seen this morning. But I've got the rest of my customers, prospects and suppliers. So I showed a company this just last week, actually, where they've got a certain customer. They deal with so many different divisions. There is quite a big turnover of staff, really. So when they're building up historical information, quotes and tasks and activities, they want to be able to pick it up from contact A and move it over to contact B. They would do exactly this. They would use the same process, in all fairness. But to answer your question on our scenario, if I just choose Orion Vehicles, it's then going to show me every department and person I've got set up. So if I just say Eric's going, and I want to move Eric's contacts over to Mark in this instance, I've told it to transfer activities, I've told it to transfer notes. It already knows about quotes and opportunities in the background anyway, and click on OK, and it's going to be as simple as that. It'll just tip the bucket over and fill Mark up. So tomorrow morning, or whenever I click OK on there, Mark is one happy sales bunny because he's got so many more activities and opportunities that he can work on. So hopefully he'll come and thank me a little bit later on today. So.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you, Paul. That's really good. Right, well, thank you for what you've worked through today. Really appreciate that. And I mean, I think you've given lots of relevant and interesting information. I certainly always think it, you know, CRM is such an interesting part of what we do in the business that we do. So I hope everyone else has got lots of food for thought as well. I mean, I think you've demonstrated it beautifully, how it can manage and report on sales forecasts, all the things we set out to do today. So current, future pipeline, and how you can help convert business and improve your sales cycle. So to everyone who's joined us, I hope you've enjoyed today's webinar. As I mentioned earlier, we will be running future sessions and we'll be focusing on areas such as finance, debt management, service delivery, customer service, obviously, supply chain management, HR and payroll, and of course an area really close to our hearts, which is about how you can go greener. Paul touched on that earlier with the document management, and it just really, as an area of business, it's about, you know, creating that digital business environment. So the team obviously will no doubt be in touch, ask you for your feedback on today's session, but I just wanted to say thank you, obviously, for your valuable time today. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.